Hello, 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 and welcome. In today's interview, we are going to be talking about how to improve your health and also your well being with the amazing founder, editor in chief, and publisher of Radiant Health magazine. That is my friend, Nnenna Kalu Makanjuola. Okay, now just in case you are unfamiliar with me, maybe we haven't met before, I think it'd be very remiss of me to continue and not introduce myself. So, my name is Nina Dafe, and I'm the founder and the editor of the Far Above Rubies Collection.com, where I help amazing Christian women just like yourself to know their worth, their power, and their purpose so they may speak up, step out, and shine as the amazing women of God that He has called and ordained them to be. And if that's something that sounds kind of like your cup of tea, then I strongly suggest that you would consider subscribing, okay? And you also want to stay tuned because by the end of this interview, you are going to walk away knowing how to improve your health and well being through self care, especially as a woman of colour, because this is something that we don't always do enough of or acknowledge very much within our community. So that's a topic we're going to be really delving into. We're also going to be talking about how to let go and let God. We hear it all the time, right? But what does that actually mean and how do we do it? So we're going to be talking about that. And we're also going to be talking about how to actually begin your entrepreneurial journey. So Nnenna's going to be talking a lot about her top tricks and tips for that. So you want to stay tuned as well as much, much more. Okay. So hold tight. What I'm going to do now is just do a very quick introduction of Nnenna and all of her wonderfulness that she does. And then we're going to get right into the main interview. Okay. So stay tuned. Nnenna Kalu is the founder, publisher, and editor-in-chief of Radiant Health magazine, a biannual print and digital magazine dedicated to the African woman and her journey to wellness through health, beauty, and culture. Radiant Health began as Nigeria's first women's health magazine and has grown globally to become the leading health magazine for today's African woman. In 2016, Nnenna was named one of 41 Nigerian women entrepreneurs, putting the country on the global business map by Lionesses of Africa. She was a media panel speaker at the 24th Annual Wharton Africa Business Forum at the Wharton School of Business as well. And Nnenna has been featured across the media, including Voice of America, How We Made It in Africa, and She Leads Africa. And so without any further ado, we are going to go straight into the interview. Enjoy. Hey Nnenna, how you doing?
Hey, I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you once again for being with us today. Really, really appreciate it. I'm glad to finally speak to you in the flesh.
Well, so am I, finally. We finally make a connection, make great connection.
Right?
Yes. It's wonderful to get to speak to you. Maybe one day we'll actually be physically in the same room.
My gosh, that'd be amazing. Honestly. I've already, let people know kind of who you are and the amazing things that you do. But just, in your own words, if you could just kind of introduce yourself and just what you're kind of all about.
Well, my name is Nnenna Kalu Makanjuola, and I am the founder and publisher of Radiant Health magazine, which is a print and digital magazine. Mm-hmm. It's a health and wellness magazine for the African woman, for today's African woman, no matter where she lives.
Yes. So kind of across the diaspora and everything.
Yes, whether you're in the continent or in the diaspora.
Amazing. And how did you kind of, get started like with, doing magazines and stuff like that? And I guess how has your faith played into your journey so far?
Yeah. The thing is, I actually had no interest in magazines, so that surprised me. So it came to me as a surprise too.
Yeah.
But the idea came mainly because of my experience working in the health sector, I'm a pharmacist, and then I transitioned to working in public health. And then I also have a history of illness with my father, who has had disease for a long time. So,
right.
If at some point he had a heart transplant. So that sort of inspired my own journey to wellness, to a health profession. And being in public health, I'm always sort of thinking about, Nigeria, the health. My focus was more on global health and specifically in the African region. And so I'm always thinking, what we can do to get this system fixed, which is like the $1 million question.
Absolutely.
And one of the things I noticed is that when we do work in the big public health organizations, I feel like it's always sort of rural health, always sort of in the villages. We don't think about and I'm sure there's a good reason for that. There are probably more people in those rural areas anyway. But from my own experience, it's like we don't have any way of accessing consumer information. And as you very well know, health is hearsay, for all of us. It's like, oh, I heard. Even it doesn't matter how educated you are,
everyone has an opinion.
We don't have a credible source of health information that applies to us as Africans. If you want to eat your plantain and you have diabetes, if you're eating your eba and you have diabetes, there's just no way. Like my dad, who had to go on a healthy diet, and we had to guess what that was. Can he have palm oil? Can he not? So we don't have like a credible source of health information that is geared towards Africans. And we, as Africans, we also have a hard time consuming health information, discerning what, it's like you go on the internet and you just believe whatever you see, So I really wanted to provide, to be that source of credible health information that is geared specifically for us. So I was running one morning, just pondering, and the idea just flashed in my head.
That's amazing.
That's it. It was
a jog.
It was so clear, and I honestly, I laughed. I actually laughed out loud. Because the idea was so clear. It just said, start a health magazine. And it was a very long run. Early morning, it was like a 10-mile run, and so that's all I thought about the rest of the run. And by the time I came back, I just said, I'm starting a health magazine, So and I went to work. Now I look back and I think, oh my gosh, what were you thinking? But that's how it got started. And to your question about how you said how faith has played a role. I think I wasn't really thinking about, sometimes our faith is something that is so much of a part of us that we don't think about it until something forces us to think about it. And that's the way my faith has come into this whole journey, into this whole radiant journey. Initially, I wasn't, I just knew if I worked hard, doing the same usual things, but it's turned out to be the greatest personal development journey of my life.
I can imagine.
And part of that also has really been about, seriously thinking about my faith and seriously connecting that to my life, whereas it was just something I did in passing. And this time I was really forced to look at it straight in the face and take it more seriously, I guess.
Yeah. It's funny because I was actually speaking to someone earlier about the same thing, that sometimes when you kind of it's not until you kind of get visions or I guess realize what your goals, your dreams, your purpose is, that sometimes your faith becomes more tangible,
Yes.
especially when it's something that just seems so much bigger than you.
Yes.
You know, that's when it kind of becomes a thing of, oh, okay, I can't do this by myself. I think I need God, you know?
Yes. You're like, I need, I need something.
I need something.
This is bigger than me, right? It's like, I can't handle it, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then, you know, all the questioning, you know, it just challenges you from so many different angles, you know, seeing that, oh, suddenly, wait, this is too much for me. You know, I don't want to do it anymore.
Yes. I have had those
don't send me on this mission. I don't want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then, you know, and because it's so tough, you're like, did you whisper that into my ears just to leave me now? You know? So there's just that constant back and forth and trying to figure out, okay, who is on the other side, you know?
Yeah. How long ago was it, you know, when you had that sort of jog and first got the vision to now, you know?
That was in 2013.
Okay.
And I think I remember it was so cold, and it was very much in the new year. So it was sometime around January. And then the magazine launched the following year in April.
Wow.
In 2014. Yes.
Wow. And you said that you had sort of no magazine experience or anything like that?
Zero.
My God.
I had zero magazine experience. I ran home and I Googled how to start a magazine.
That was that.
Yeah. And Google became my best friend. And, you know, one thing led to another. Like, everything I've done has been just figuring my way.
Yeah. What would you say, I don't know, has been like the biggest lesson, I guess, on that journey and figuring out and stuff like that?
You know, I think it's Marie Forleo that says everything is figure-outable.
Yeah.
Now I know how true that statement is, you know, because for some reason, you know, in the beginning, I was just working. I wasn't thinking about what I was doing. I was just doing it, you know? And then I look back and I think, oh my God, why did you even think you could do that in the first place? You know, when I look back. And so that's, you know, the main lesson I've learned is, you know, to stick to your vision. The thing that you want to do, stay on it. You don't know how to do it, but that's not for you to figure out. You just need to accept that, okay, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And you're going to find a way to do it. Don't overthink beyond that. Just get to work from, you know, if it's starting with your Google, just start with the Google and let things will unfold. But don't, I've really learned to not limit my vision.
Yes. Yeah. I kind of relate to so much of what you're saying in terms of kind of the figure-outableness.
Yes.
I mean, with me, when if I reflect back to me, I was going to say I used to be a control freak. I don't think I can say used to. I think there's still... I think most business owners will say that. That's part of our problem. Absolutely. So no, there are still elements of that. But I think just what you're saying, if someone was to ask me the same question, I would probably say the same thing. Learning to let go and learning just to do the work and flow, but let God just kind of do the rest and then it kind of unfold for you. That's been, I think, my biggest lesson as well.
Yes, because in the beginning, you know, we try so hard and we want to control, you know, until it wears you out. And, you know, of course, there's distraction from so many angles and so many things that you think you should be doing. And, you know, when you get to that point where, you know, okay, my goal is to be here and I'm not going to, this is where I want to go. I'm not going to worry about how I get there. I'm just going to start. Once you get to that point where you just let go, things change. And so that's been a lesson for me. Of course, with each new project, sometimes I feel like I have to relearn it.
Yes,
you know,
me too.
You get comfortable, and then when you move on to a new level with your business or what you're doing, you go on to something, to a new level, and then all the fears come back, and it's like you have to relearn the lessons again. But yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Or just kind of with each new level kind of thing, where it's the building blocks, definitely. Yeah, definitely. So I guess if there was a lady who's watching right now and, maybe also has visions herself of like, starting her own entrepreneurial journey, whether it's to also do a magazine or, something else, what would you say to her? What kind of tips or tricks would you offer?
Such a loaded question. Because there's so much to say, but really, I think people doubt. One, we're not truthful to ourselves about what we want. Sometimes what you want is so big, and you start making excuses for why you shouldn't do it.
That's so true.
Or your vision, it's so not unusual, but it's not the path. When you say it out loud, everybody will ask you, but well, why aren't you doing it this way?
Yeah.
But that's not what you want to do, right? So staying focused on your vision is yours alone. Your desire is yours alone. You don't need to justify it.
Yeah.
You want what you want.
Sure.
So you need to be focused on what your vision is, but then you also need to be flexible.
Yeah.
So you can still stay within that vision, but you might have to evolve a bit without changing your core vision per se. Yeah. So you also need to be flexible and be willing to change. Like I've changed Radiant, I change it overnight. If I need, if something is not working, or I feel like, okay, this is not the direction, when they talk about pivoting, so I've made those changes. I used to be so scared to do that. You feel like the whole world is watching you, and if you press A, they'll all say, nobody's looking. And so if you actually have to make any big changes, it's good to make it when you don't have too many people watching anyway, in the beginning. So don't be afraid to change course or to experiment with what you're doing. And, the other thing I'll say is to be very focused. Focus is so hard. You just have to be extremely focused and do the deep work. I know people think like business is social media, or, sometimes it's so hard. You desperately want what you're doing to get out, so people can hear about it, but it also becomes a distraction.
Yeah.
And I think there's something to be said for doing the deep work and being focused even in how you market. Being the loudest doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be the most noticed, right?
That's
that your business is going to be more successful if you're the loudest. So find a way to minimize distraction and do the work and produce like the absolute best work that you can.
Amazing advice. I love it. And so kind of switching gears a little bit, because obviously, the niche, the whole topic of Radiant is about, health, well-being. I love that, because I think especially, we're both, of Nigerian heritage as well. And like within like African culture, or even kind of Black culture, you can find that, we're kind of getting to grips with the physical thing a bit more, but sometimes mental health is still something that is maybe a subject that's a bit taboo or not really spoken about. So I really love the fact that within Radiant, both like on the blog, but within the magazine itself, that you also delve into that, the emotional well-being, the spiritual side of things as well. So I guess, for those who are, thinking, 2018, because as we're recording right now, we've only got like a week of 2017 left. I'm sure there are a lot of people who are like, okay, 2018 is my year to lose weight, or, whatever they might be thinking. Do you have any, I don't know, tidbits to share about, how we can maybe take care of ourselves a bit better, health-wise and that sort of thing?
Yeah, well, and what I've noticed, and this is also an issue for me, is that when we think of getting healthy, we go from 0 to 100.
Yes.
Right? So I'm really into the idea of small, it's the small changes that lead to big results.
So true.
That's the one thing that I would like, even I have to constantly remind myself, but if there's one thing that I would like people to take away as far as how to make 2018 a successful year for their, for their health and wellness, is that it's the small changes that lead to big results. So don't try to, start working out 7 days a week, I think, and then plan to do that every day, or get into some 365-day challenge. You're better off just committing to 2 days a week of exercise and doing that consistently for 6 months or for 1 year, and you'll definitely see results. So I really want to harp on the idea of, picking 1 or 2 small changes and then building upon them. So you can start out with, you want to work out 2 days a week, and then a month after that, you can want to add 2 green smoothies a week, So it's the small changes and being consistent with them. I think those are the 2 main things I would add. And, when people think about health, especially with the new year, it's usually the weight loss that comes up, So I think the mental wellness that you spoke about is often neglected. And sometimes you can't get to the point of weight loss until you've taken care of the mental, because even for me, that was a big problem that I had to overcome, because starting Radiant, trying to get other people healthy, I myself got burnt out, and I couldn't, it took me such a long time to get back. I feel like I'm only now starting to get back on track. And part of the initial work was just on the mental, you can't even get to the point of exercise until you've taken care of just calming yourself down and taking that quiet time. So for the longest time, all I did, because working mothers can resonate with this, or if you're a stay-at-home mom, whatever you do that you're single, I don't know, whatever you do, sometimes we're so busy that every minute of our day is accounted for, and it's like we're just on. We don't switch off, and it wears on you. And then especially if you add a business to it, when you're working for yourself, you're it. You're everything, so you're on 24/7. And if you don't have a way to step back and however imperfectly and take some time out for yourself, it's very hard to start getting all the other things in motion. So if there's somebody who has been struggling, to lose weight or to eat right, one of the best things I did for myself this year was just taking quiet time. And it could be 5 minutes, and I have my boys running around, but still you have to learn how to do things imperfectly, Well, quiet time is supposed to be quiet, but if you can escape to the closet and you can still hear their voices, that's okay.
You just have to do the best you can.
You do the best you can. So just, learning to, it's like the perfectionist in me, where, if it has to be, it has to be so perfect. So if I cannot get 5 minutes of absolute silence, then it doesn't qualify. But that's not true, so you have to learn how to start where you are, take some quiet time, even if it's 5 minutes. I swear it's like magic. You do it consistently, and you'll just be surprised how calming the rest of your day. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I need to go back and read the science of this, because this is freaking me out, But, and that's a starting point. over time, you start needing exercise. You go out to, you start going out for a walk, you start doing things without it being forced. So I always, some people can just go straight to exercise or straight to diet. But if those things haven't worked for you, I would like to suggest the idea of just taking time to just be silent for a few minutes at the start of your day, and build upon that.
Yeah, I think, I once again really identify with what you're saying, because I think for me, like even with the article that I wrote for you before, where I talked about, I've always been, big, my whole life, to be honest. And I know, like, when I was younger as well, it's something I used to be very insecure about. And so I would do the whole going from 0 to 100, and that's it. I'm not going to eat, and I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And of course, you're setting yourself up for failure. For me, it just didn't work. But definitely this year, when I just, funnily enough, did what you said, which was I just kind of started taking care of myself actually more mentally. And just, hey, if I needed quiet time, I needed quiet time, and just being in tune with myself. And actually, it then filtered out to the outside really naturally. So because I was taking care of myself in all the other ways, it meant that I then did start to think about, well, what I was eating a bit more. Actually, I'm not going to hop on the train home from work. I'm going to walk. I'm going to do this. And actually, those kind of consistent habits. And I wasn't even really thinking about it, because I wasn't doing it from the point of view of losing weight. It was just another way of kind of taking care of myself. But it was so funny how family and friends started to actually comment and be like, hey, Nnenna, what are you doing? What's changed,
Yes.
So
yes, I got that. I remember the first time somebody asked me, she said, you're glowing.
Yeah.
I hadn't, the scale hadn't changed like 1 pound, but I looked lighter. I was, she said, what's going on? And, this is actually one of the people that work, with Radiant. We were having a our weekly meetings, and she was like, you look, what's going on? So that was also some good validation for me. But then, like, you're right, I just got to the point where I didn't even, I just said, I can't think about this. And I think I was so stressed out about everything else. I just needed to get my mind, something had to give.
Yeah.
And so once I started taking care of myself, my mental wellness, once I leave my office and I get home, I don't open my computer again. Yeah. I didn't even plan this. It just happened. I started taking back my life, and I just noticed that things changed. My demeanor changed. Right. Things that would annoy me weren't annoying me. Sometimes I would just be so happy for no good reason, you know? And then I just got to a point where I had the itch to go back, to start working out again. Yeah. So it was all one thing building on the other.
Right. Yeah. Right. I think I really loved as well what you said about just taking 5 minutes, because I do think as women, especially like you said, if you're working, if you're a mother, we wear so many different hats and different roles.
Yes.
So I think there can sometimes be guilt attached to taking time for ourselves. A lot of women feel like, almost like I need to sacrifice myself. I need to be a martyr for everyone else, and not realizing that it's the other way around. If you don't take care of yourself, then you can't take care of everyone else as well.
It's such a hard message, Yeah. I mean, it's like your brain knows it.
Yes.
But, it's so hard to get it, even though you know it, you can, what did they say? You can't pour from an empty cup.
Yes.
But still, that's what we try to do.
Come on, cup.
Even the 5 minutes, I don't want it to sound like you would sit down in 5 minutes and it will be quiet. Your first month, you can sit there and you're thinking, oh my God, did I pack lunch? Oh, I forgot lunch. Is the appointment today? Oh, I'm volunteering tomorrow. I mean, that's all you're thinking, It's like it's amazing the things that we do. It's just amazing the things that we keep track in our mind. But even that 5 minutes is 5 minutes that you didn't take before, just to just to be quiet and hear yourself think those
That's
thoughts,
it.
you know?
That's true.
So,
Yeah, just being conscious. I
yeah.
think that's yeah. I guess the buzzword as well. Like everyone's talking about, mindfulness, isn't it?
Yeah, and well, so when I got into this, I was introduced to meditation last year.
Yeah.
Was it? I think it was early last year,
Mm.
before I even put it into serious practice this year.
Sure.
But and it had such a profound change, and how these things go. Over time, I just stopped doing it, and then it's like, oh, it's a buzzword, everybody's doing it, and I would think about that. But then it occurred to me, if it's making me well, who cares?
Who cares, right?
If I'm benefiting from it, and it's so that was also a turning point, not just for the meditation, but for other things that are fads,
Right.
that you think, oh, because we all think we're so special, right? We think we're so unique when you're not. But with other, because I do that too. There are other things I'm like, such a fad. I'm like, I wouldn't do it. And I thought, oh, isn't it so funny the way we'll deny ourselves good things just because we don't want to be part of the fad?
And what everyone else is doing. Yeah, you're right. It's true.
So sometimes I just want to do it quietly and not say a word. Like, this is what I'm doing. But I feel bad. I feel like if somebody asks, at least I should share. I wouldn't go out saying, oh, you need to meditate, oh, you need to be quiet, mindful. I wouldn't necessarily do that. But I feel like if somebody asked, I owe it to them to say, well, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah,
but yeah,
if it's working, like you said.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So whenever I come towards the end of my interviews with ladies, I like to ask quick sort of fun game type questions.
Okay.
So the first one that I really wanted to ask you is, and it's okay if you don't, but do you have a favorite woman of the Bible, and if so, kind of who and why?
The woman that jumps at me, and of course it's sort of, maybe it's telling of my current state of mind. Excuse me.
No problem.
The woman that jumps at me is the woman with the issue of blood.
Interesting.
And the reason I think about her is because, in this business that, when you work for yourself, we end up running in circles of other people who are entrepreneurs who are building businesses.
Yeah.
And it seems like you need so much to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
You to be seen, or your work to be seen, for you to succeed. It feels like it's such a prerequisite for success. And I feel that pull. On the one hand, I keep, every month I go through this, I'm ending social media kind of thing. Not because I think it's so bad, but it wears me out personally.
Yes,
so the social media thing really personally wears me out, even for my personal use. So I always need to go away for a long time.
Sure.
And then come back.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, I also want my work to be seen. I don't want to look like I'm hiding.
Yeah.
So I have this constant push and pull about being seen and whether I'm going to be effective if I'm not being seen, right? Mm-hmm. But the woman with the issue of blood, one time I was thinking about this, and she just reminded me of some, because every now and then I'll Google, are there businesses that are not on social media? I Google that almost every month, because I'm just trying to find a way to withdraw and just be quiet,
Yeah.
So the woman with the issue of blood, I really like her story, because to me, she's a nameless, faceless woman who has changed so many lives just by her story. And all she did was namelessly, she's not like the other amazing, inspiring, the hero, women of the Bible.
Yeah.
She's just nameless, faceless, and all she did was take a leap of faith in a way that demonstrates to billions of people who have heard the story about what what faith is. You know,
Yes.
her story has changed, I'm sure, many lives, women who can relate to just that simple story.
Yeah.
And she was a nameless and a faceless woman, you know.
Right.
So when I think about my faith, you know, she really is a person who jumps at me when I think about the woman in the Bible that I kind of resonate with. That would be her.
I like that. So would you say you kind of identify as like an introvert, like for the most part?
I am an introvert. I think some people might some people might disagree with that, but I really am. You know, I am in the sense that being overly social wears me out, you know. So it's so it wears me out, and then I feel bad about it. So it's always such a stressful situation for me to be, you know. On the one hand, I really want to be out there. I mean, you know, there's so many things I want, but then it's draining on me. So
what I love about that then is it also, you know, for those who might be like watching, listening, you know, who also might be introverts or, you know, have something about themselves that makes them think, oh, but can I do this or should I do this? You know, like we've kind of got a living proof then. It's just a matter of kind of knowing yourself, knowing what, you know, what you can do, what doesn't stress you, what doesn't wear you out to a certain degree, and just, you know, towing that line and doing that fine balance, but it can be done.
Oh, it absolutely can be done, you know, and I think part of it is also acknowledging to yourself, knowing who you are. No, you know, because I know it would stress. No, I don't want to use stress like it's kind of a bad thing, you know. It just drains me. So sometimes I don't want to do certain things, but it's not because I don't like that. It's just the thought of it drains me, you know. And but I think even introverts can find a way to do, you know, to be part of what they want to be. Absolutely. You know, you just have to draw your own boundaries and know, you know, because there are times when I check out and you can't pull me in, because that period you know, and this is something I started before. I wouldn't draw the boundaries, and it would stress me out. But you know, when I have to, when I think I have to check out, I really do just sort of check out until I can come back in.
So it's all about this, once again, the self-care. And
it's about the self-care, and you know, and sometimes you just have to pull your big girl's pants. That's part of being an entrepreneur. You know, you do things. It's not that there are things you don't, you know, that's just part of the work, you know. So sometimes we just have to do what we have to do. So I don't want people to use that as an excuse. Right. You know, it's doable, but you also need to know your limits and maybe start thinking about what kind of boundaries that you need to draw around that, so that it doesn't wear you out so much, where you can still be effective putting yourself out there.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
And so if you had to finish this sentence, so I am a Christian woman who is, what would you say?
Evolving.
Oh, I like it.
I feel like I'm not even sure how I feel about that connotation of a Christian woman, because it carries, you know, it's
loaded, right?
It's loaded,
especially in this day.
So it's I you know, I don't know if I'm clearly Christian and I'm a woman, you know. So but I don't know if I would always say, I'm a Christian woman, right? So I feel like I'm evolving, and you know, being on this journey, of course, has taken me down to a whole new spiritual path. You know, going back to how, you know, the role that faith has played into this, and you know, sort of the personal journey and development that I've been through. So I feel like I'm just evolving in my faith, in my spirituality.
And then, so if we had to then reverse that, so I am a Christian woman who is not.
Not religious.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And so just to end, do you have like any other, I guess, words of encouragement, and also just to let people know how to find you and how they can get in touch and that jazz.
Sorry, I missed the last
Oh,
week.
sorry.
Yeah.
I was saying, any other further words of encouragement, and also how can people find you and get in touch with you, like on social media or whatever.
Yes. Well, I would say never give up. Never give up. I think persistence is it's not underrated, but then it's easier than it sounds. Right. So I just want to encourage any person out there who is trying to build something.
Yeah.
It's such a journey and it's so lonely.
Yeah.
It's a lonely journey. Your entrepreneurs, your friends who are entrepreneurs will definitely understand what you're going through, but most of the people who surround you are not going to be business owners. But don't give up. Keep your focus. Do the deep work. Leave the distractions alone. And we'll get there. One step at a time. There's no such thing as overnight success.
Yes, absolutely.
Doesn't it? I mean, maybe you might be the one in a million, but
usually there was some groundwork.
So just be ready for enjoy the journey. I mean, it's not like it's going to be so easy, but it's also difficult. Just enjoy the journey and stick with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you can find us at radianthealthmag.com. You can find the Radiant magazine in Barnes & Noble stores in the US. Or we have an online shop where you can order it and we ship worldwide. You can also get to the shop at radianthealthmag.com. We have digital editions on Google Play and iTunes as well.
Amazing. Oh, Nnenna, I just want to say thank you once again for, just sitting here having this chat. It's been such a pleasure, honestly.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me and pulling me out of my shell.
No problem.
We would say how long this took, but
but we're here.
I so appreciate you. Thank you so much.
You too.
And I want to tell your people, your audience, also to check out your articles that you've written for Radiant, and that you're also in our most recent issue 10, in the print issue. And you're such a phenomenal writer. I know I've told you so many times, but I love your writing. And I just love how you speak to the heart of the things. The way you speak to your readers, I read it from beginning to end and I don't miss a beat. So thank you for sharing
so much.
Yes.
Thank you. Oh,
thank you.
I was going to say bye.
Thank you.
Now, how amazing was that interview? Now, if you were just as blown away as I was by all of Nnenna's, tips, tricks, amazing gems and wisdom, then I would strongly suggest that you like and also share with people who could kind of do with the information that she supplied. I would also love to know what your biggest takeaways were. So just in the comments, feel free to share. I say it every week, but I'm highly interactive, and so it won't just be in thin air. I will write back, and we can kind of consider we can continue the dialogue and the conversation. And the other thing that I would say also is, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more interviews like this, or even just more from me, where I can basically help you to speak up, step out and shine as a woman of God, then definitely consider hitting the subscribe button below, and not just that button but the bell as well, because what that will do is notify you every single time that I upload a video, which is pretty much, I would say, twice a week. All right, so until next time, take care, my love, and we shall be back again soon. Bye.